All right, hey guys, we're going to go ahead and go through a quick video talking about how to use Leap. So we're going to move in 3, 2, 1, go. All right, hey guys, microphone is on. All right, hey guys, we're going to go through and teach you how to use Leap. So again, when you're first, we got to log in. So you're going to get your login user credentials from your, depends on what location you are, your general manager or basic sales manager. This number you're going to want to hold on to, or the login information, because again, if you lose it, you can get locked out in the house, and that obviously is not going to be a great thing for you. And from time to time, this will log you out, and it's always a great idea to keep up to date with all logins. So give it a second to update the price guide here. And again, every morning before you leave, it's a good idea to update it so you don't get stuck in the house, and then you have this updating. All right, here we go. So first on the left-hand side, you're going to see where it says project design. In the top left, this is going to be most of the time we're using. There's contracts we're going to go to in a little bit. Proposals, which is how you give your price presentation. Credit application, which again, right now is blank in ours. Finance calculator, this is where you would go to want to figure out what payment options you have if you're trying to figure out how to get to a certain payment without having to go into your proposals or project design. This literally right here we'll go over in a little bit. Price guide, this is if you're trying to find a quick price and you don't want to have to go build a project. This will show you your double hungs, your single hungs, your gliding windows, your 3 light gliders, fixed sash and frame, which again can make a big deal. When you talk about fixed sash and frame, let's talk about the kind of windows real quick. When you talk about each one of the categories, right? Single hung is going to show you your UIs. So you're going to want to know what your UI category is before you start building your window. This is super important because if you don't know what your UI category is, you'll get into the program and you'll be trying to remember what your width plus your height is, right? So unified inch is your width added to your height. So if it's 36 by 60, then that would be a 96-inch UI window. So I'm going to go to 96. I would be down here, 96 to 100. I would touch it, and it shows me that option. I can do a Pella 250 series, an Impervia, or an Architect series reserve. So again, it shows me my prices. Now, if I want to find out what tempering, basically up charges would be, there's a little arrow looks off to the right, kind of like a greater than symbol. Then I can actually come into here and it will give me a price of anything I can price out in the system. So it's a good idea to get familiarized with your price book or price guide, because it will actually show you and teach you how to kind of roll around in your pricing so you know what you're dealing with and then what's correct and what's incorrect inside there. So when you get inside the house, you're not thinking about, should I price it like this or should I price it like this? For instance, let's say I wanted to go to a rectangle direct set, but I wanted to do a 250 series. Well, if you look here, 250 series is not available in that option, only Impervia and Architect direct set. On the other hand, let's say I wanted to go to a fixed sash and frame, which is going to look like a casement window fixed. And let's say I want to go to an Architect series. Well, one of the things I'll see is Architect series is not available in that, only the 250 and the Impervia window. So it's important to know what the pieces of the puzzle are. And down here, you'll see some of the different options as far as double hung, single hung bay, casement bay. And that's going to kind of array a little bit differently based on your location. Then you have your doors, and then you have your miscellaneous construction and labor, right? So let's talk about this real quick before we get in, right? Installation methods. In San Diego, we make it a requirement that everybody has to choose an installation method, right? Because we call it dream style reflash, which means we're taking out on an aluminum window, we're taking out the old aluminum frame and reflashing the opening putting ice and water shield and allowing that to actually melt back into the actual house itself. So again, we have a water management system we're creating back around there. That's a whole different process that we use in San Diego that kind of helps us differentiate ourselves from an installation standpoint. Talk about that installation superiority, which is going to help you. Next is new installation, pretty much like a new construction window, which means that includes the stucco, the correction of the paper, the flashing, and re-stuccoing and painting back around each one of the openings. And then an insert, which means we're inserting it back into the old frame, not really removing anything, using our precautions, ice and water shield, foaming around the frames with our non-expandable spray foam, giving our value of 4. It goes around the window, not just through it. And that's that standard installation that costs no money. So again, your upgrades would be a DreamStar reflash or a new installation. Now, when you talk about modifications, which is right here, second one on the list, right? So we have structural engineering and permits. See, in San Diego, that's a super expensive part because we have seismic. So you see that's going to run us just for engineering and permits, $9,950. That includes the permit, the engineering report from when the architect. So again, they got to draw it out. They have to get it stamped and approved. And then they also have to pull all the permits that are allowing us to start working on that project. A segment like that, depending on where it goes, can take anywhere between 4 to 6 weeks just for the structural engineering and permits. Sometimes longer, depending on what we actually have to acquire. Next is enlarge opening. This means anytime you have to take a window over 8 feet, we have a charge based on a large opening up to 8 feet. This includes your stucco repair, your framing, your move electric in this one. And again, that's anytime you're taking outside. If I got a basic 36-inch window and I want to make it a 60-inch window, then I would need to charge this fee to allow myself to have all that taken care of. Or say I'm going to turn it from a window and I'm going to make it a 12-foot door. So I've got to, again, expand my header, create structural members. And this includes everything up to the corner. There might be some instances where you're too close to the corner and it might need shear wall, which again, your installation department can explain to you shear wall on that. But again, this covers everything except for the unforeseens. Next is enlarge opening over 8 foot. So this last one I showed you, that includes any modification up to 8 feet. So the representative yourself would just not have to think about all the different action items. So you're not missing stucco, you're not missing paint, you're not missing the others. It's kind of a foolproof way to make sure, again, we cover it. Now it's up to 8 feet. So if I had a charge to do it over 8 feet, then again, let's say it was 12 feet. So I would add 4 foot to that opening. So when I get my charges, I'd add an additional $285 on there on top of my $79.97 that I charged on the other one. So I make sure I cost it appropriate. And that's just something to help us cover the cost of, the header and the extended lengths on basically over and above the 8 feet. Next is shrink opening. That means we're taking a door and making it a window, or taking a large window or door and then making it a smaller area. This again includes 2376, includes the stucco, the paint, the finishing, the interior trim, different things of that nature to make sure that, again, we're shrinking the opening to make it look like it belonged to the house. That's called a build-in in some instances. Next is lower opening. Let's say you've got a 60-inch wide window and you want to lower the opening and make it a door. That's going to be $1105 is what that base charge is going to be. So again, that's to take a window that's the same size as the door you want and then literally lower the opening so you can create the opening on it, which helps you, again, create a door, make a door in the area of a window. There's other circumstances you'd use it, but that's probably the majority of what you're going to utilize that for. Then we have remove sheetrock to gain an inch. In areas where you can flash the window correctly, you can actually cut back the drywall to get more visible viewing space on your interior window. So again, you can cut back the sheetrock or drywall to slide the window back up to the existing drywall. A lot of times on inserts, when you have when you basically have a window that is all drywall on the inside. A lot of times your installers will set it inside that drywall, making that frame completely the major loss of glass loss inside of it. So getting an inch allows us to cut back the drywall, slide it back behind the drywall, and then again, you're gaining almost an inch worth of glass space when we utilize that. That's, again, you need to make sure with your general manager that that part is approved, or your sales manager, make sure that part is approved for your market. A minor modify, this is a small lower opening. Say that you've got a window that's above 42 inches, which does not meet egress. Say it's 44 and you just needed to lower it to meet egress. Then again, you could add the minor modification. We also use it as kind of a go-to when we're not sure what to charge for something. We hit a minor modification. So again, it's something that's kind of what I call a loose go-to, or for egress cut down within reason. So that's that part. Next is stucco. We have a stucco repair, which is $265 each. That's a basic, simple repair around the window. Say there's some cracks and things, and we're going to paint to match as close as possible. But again, we're going to fill those cracks back around there. If it's bars, we'll do R&R window bars. If it's in a bedroom, we're not allowed to put that back on because, again, you affect the egress of it. You know, door bars, again, 110. You got R&R window coverings, which is mini blinds. That's $45 a piece at list price. And then we got door coverings, same thing, $75. Then we do R&R existing awnings and shutters. This is on the exterior of the house, $125. And then on the interior, our dreaded plantation shutters on R&R is $138. Now, if you look at a window and the plantation shutters are installed to the outside of the drywall, not inside the jamb extension, but outside the drywall, then you can R&R basically the plantation shutters, and they'll still go back on. If it sets to the inside of the jamb extension, which means in there where the window's at, then again, there's a great chance that those plantation shutters are not going to fit based on the depth, which means how close the plantation shutter set to the existing window. So you add a bigger window in there, you could again lose the ability to use your plantation shutters or close them completely. So what you look at a normal aluminum window is about 2¼ inches, 2.5 maybe. And when you look at a replacement window, such as an Impervia, or Impervia is like 3 inches. Basically 250 is 3¼ inches, which is the same as Provia as well. And then you get into your Architect series, those can be in a 4.5 to 5 inch jamb is how thick those are. So again, if you've got 4-inch wall construction or even 6-inch wall construction, just sometimes you're gonna have a really hard time getting that back in there. So again, just some food for thought there. Electrical and plumbing, reroute electrical is the only thing we have in there. That's $650. So say I was going to lower that opening, like when I was talking about the door on the modifications. If I'm going to lower the opening, then what has to happen is I have to move the electric, because unlike the widen opening charge, it's all figured in there. That's not going to be figured in that total too. So again, we would need to add the lower opening and the move electric if we deem that's necessary. A good rule of thumb is pretty much if you see a plug on the left or right side, or you have a knee wall, generally there's most of the time always electric running through there. So it's a good option to just go ahead and add that into all your into your mix there. Next is finish trim. We have a price for jamb extension in casing, any wood. And this includes painting on there. So right now we got that at $310. You look at stool and apron, that is the front facing part that sits on the bottom of the window in front. So you look at 3 sticks of casing. On the bottom of it is a stool. Kind of like think about setting on a stool, and the apron is the flat part that sits on the drywall facing out. So again, that's the lower part of the window, setting generally in the front, almost where your knees would hit it if you're walking up. The stool is what would set inside. So if you were going to sit your tape measure down or something on the inside and there was some wood there, that'd be called your stool board on the inside below, sitting right in front of the active sash. Below that is called the stool board, which is a flat facing piece of wood It sits in almost like a decorative trim to finish off where the drywall meets the stool board. Drywall cuts, that's going to be that's going to be the same as a cut back 1 inch. Remove steel buck frame. Again, give with your installation. We charge $507 for that. That's called a schoolhouse tear out in some of the markets, which means you got aluminum sills and aluminum frame, or steel sills and steel frame that you're trying to get out. A lot of times they use that back in schools. So that's why they call it a schoolhouse tear out. Again, get with your installation department on that and make sure they understand what you're trying to accomplish. Upgrade to stained pine. That means if you're doing the trim, you're going to add $100 to it. So again, if you're not going to just have it painted, the stain part of it would add an additional $100 to make sure they're using a little better lumber. Repair existing drywall damage. If you look below and literally there's holes in the drywall or moisture marks or things of that nature, we don't want to get in a habit. Only if it's a deal killer would we add that repair existing drywall. New drywall and corner bead. That means if there's no casing, but they want a quarter bead on the drywall, this is where you would add that as well. That's our finish trim, stain and paint. We have a stain and paint window only. Say you're trying to match it to the existing trim on the inside, you did an insert wood window. That's where our price would be there. If I got paint window and jam extension together, I'm up to $380 a piece. Stain patio door only is $275 each, and that's going to be per light. So again, if there's one light, that's going to be $275. There's 2 lights, that's going to be $275 times 2 or 3 lights times 3, 4 lights, $275 times 4. That's going to get you your cost per panel. Painting per square foot. This is just like a miscellaneous charge. We got $5 in here. What I would do on this, again, make sure you get a hold of your installation department or your manager on there. Next is miscellaneous. We call a setup and delivery. That's AKA called permits. So we have to pull a permit in some city where we're doing a modification, not a modification, but a certain type of installation like our Dreamstyle Reflash or new construction is going to require a setup and delivery fee, which again is what we AKA call permits. Okay. That's going to be approximately about $475 in Orange County. We have to pull a permit all the time. Lead paint for pre-1978 homes. So again, in December 31st, 1977 and before, the EPA, April 22nd of 2008, I believe, put out a ruling that you had to basically test for lead paint so you would protect homeowners or workers from inhaling and ingesting lead paint. So now California is taking it to a new extreme where we have to actually pay a third-party company to come out and test that to deem if it's lead or not lead. So again, that fee is mandatory. We don't charge the customer for the actual lead safe practices themselves, but the test, we do that, at least in San Diego. Ask your sales manager for further information or your general manager on that. Second story charge, $45. That's anytime we have to reach on anything, a step ladder or basically a basic ladder. Anything that's not on a first story, that's what we're going to charge a second story. Next is scaffolding. We have our own personal rules for scaffolding. Anything over 14 feet, or anything, over 14 feet. There's a certain square footage of window. And then literally you have to check for cliffs and different things like that nature. If there's fall offs, each one of your cities are going to have different rules for what is needed for scaffolding. Custom interior oak wood ramps. That's going to be for like patio doors. So again, there's ramps coming up to it where we can actually, on ours, we mill and then stain a custom threshold, which is what we do on our patio doors a lot of the time. We have an extra labor per hour, just a $150 fee we do for miscellaneous work. We try to add that in. We have a trip charge for over 45 miles, a motel per night, and then a per diem per day. that's figured out in there if needed to be, if you need to use any of those for your certain certain market there. Pretty much. And then lastly, I guess is Provia. This is well, if there's an out of area fee, which means you're going outside your bubble. If my bubble is 70-mile radius around San Diego, then if I'm going to step outside of that, I'm going to put $100 fee in there, just making sure that we know that we're making up some of that difference. Then we have a Provia. I think this is the installation and warranty, which we can attach to it. But you'll see a different spot for Provia on there in a few minutes. Next is, if you look on the guide on the left again, get out of that, we're going to go to resources. Resources where we keep a lot of our information. We have our Renovate Right. So if you want to go through there and read that, we have some product videos that you can utilize. We'll be updating with some different product lines. If that's, you wanted to utilize that, that is available to you. Then we have product brochures. So if you want to email one of your Pella product brochures, this is almost all Pella centric. You look at top 500, or excuse me, the #1 full service remodel in the United States is right there. Just give a little award that shows about our up the ante. And let's take the #1 full service remodel in the United States. Different training materials, which I don't think there's anything in this resource tab. There's a video, Pella vs. Fibrex, and then Duracast Reigns Cuisine, which is again another video which allows you to kind of get some extra information into there. In your settings tab, you'll want to basically make sure you have other things such as import your calendar and export your calendar. I believe corporate sends that over. That import calendar should be, and export calendar should be actually turned on, I do believe, on that. So that way, again, this program will talk to lead perfection, which means when you result through here, it's going to be very important that you allow that to happen. Now, generally what happens if I touch the customer on the top, is going to show me my calendar, right? So for the 16th, for the 17th, if I have a lead that's added to me, so let's say I'm running a lead tomorrow. If I have a lead assigned to me, generally it will show up on this. Generally leads are ran at 10 o'clock, 2 o'clock, and 6 o'clock. Sometimes there's ranges between 9 and 11, 1 and 3, and then basically 4 and 6. So when you look at the ranges of appointments, that's about it. So if you're looking on here, you'll be able to see if you have appointments that are available. If so, you would just literally tap on the appointment. It would bring up the whole dialogue. In this instance, I'm going to pretend that we are creating a brand new appointment. Because if you don't know what you're doing here, you can definitely get stuck. On this one, I'm just going to add my name. There's Dustin Rhodes, okay? And I didn't even pay attention to my own rules. So I'm going to put my last name over here and then my street address. I'm just going to make one up. Dream Style Lane. We're calling that San Diego. So capitalize Diego here. All right. And then I'll put the office zip code 92126. Now this next part you got to pay attention, because if you're not careful here, you can definitely eat your own lunch. So on the top line, which should be contact #1, I'm going to enter the phone number. So I'm just going to put my phone number down. If you guys have any questions, you can use this number if you'd like to give me a shout, and I'll try to help you guys with any questions. If you see here, I'm just going to put Dustin. I'm going to add my phone number. Something's messed up here. All right. So it allowed me to add my phone number. Next is email address. So I'm just going to add my email address. So again, if I don't do them on their separate line, then it's going to not allow me to go in there and build or price anything. So now I've got a phone number and an email address. If you don't have one of those, it's going to be tough to move on. So again, make sure have both of those entered in, especially if you're adding your own appointment. Now you'll see it says all my information up top. Next, let's go into Windows. So let's say, for instance, I'm going to sell a gliding window, XOOX. If I'm going to use a Pella window, Pella windows are single slides, which means it doesn't matter if you're doing the Impervia window, the 250 window, both of those windows, which are the only two sliders. Architect series does not come in that. Then again, that is going to be an XO or an XO or OX, which means that one operator is fixed and one operator is basically stationary. So when we look at this, it's going to tell me my sizes on the right. Remember I said earlier that you need to memorize your sizes. Let's just say it's a 36, or let's say it's a 36 by 60, right? So I have 96 UI. So the first thing I'm going to do is when I pick my window type, I'm going to come down to whatever my unified inch is. Then I'm going to hit add. As I hit add, then you see there's a red circle around the sliding window down bottom. When I touch that, it's allowing me to add a location. This one, I'm just going to say it's in the kitchen. Okay. And then my unit is going to be whatever I call it. I'm going to call this one 101. That's how we do it in San Diego. Then my size is going to be, what did I say, 30 by 60. So again, that's 96 UI, which we've already figured that out. What this tells you, by the way, when you enter size, it has nothing to do with price. When I pick my UI bucket, that 96 to 100, that's what's calculating my price, not the size down here. So if I make a mistake on the bottom, not a big deal, but that is going to show up on the contract, and it's what the customer sees. So this one, I'm going to say I want an OX, which outside looking in is OX. So again, we'd look from the left would be our O, our X, which would be from the right. And I believe the O stands for operator here. The X is fixed. I might be messing that up, but I'm pretty sure that's it. Then what's going to happen is I need my notes down here. So my notes are going to allow me to see, if I want to add something in there. So if I'm putting in the kitchen, I might put, insert installation. I might put on granite countertop. Because again, what I want to do is I want to give my installers as much information as I can get to make sure we're not making a mistake. So next time I hit done, it would look like I built my window. See, kitchen window, unit 101, 30 by 60. I got my operator. Remember, always from the outside looking in. And then literally my insert installation on granite countertop. Now you'll see there's a little arrow coming off to the right, just past the button. This button activates or deactivates the window, right? So if I hit here, it's going to take away my quantity, which means I have 0 of that quantity. Here, I'm going to turn it back on though, because I want the window. Now, if I touch the little green part with the arrow over on the far right, this is going to bring up all my options. So it has tempered, which you can only temper both sashes, advanced low E, which is going to be a lower grade. It's going to be 2 coats of silver rather than 3, depending on your area of the country. A lot of times you need 3 coats of low E to make sure you meet energy requirement. Your sun defense is 3 coats of low E. If you're doing Provia, your DLA UV, that's 3 coats of low E, okay? If you just do a DLA or you do advanced low E, that's 2 coats of low E, meaning you won't meet Energy Star requirements in the West Coast. So your Southwest region, I believe, is a 0.25 and lower solar heat gain. So a advanced low E is going to give you about a 0.29 solar heat gain. Okay. Next up, obscured glass. In Pella, which this is predominantly talking about, obscured glass is going to be only one type, and that's basic obscured. Foam insulation and Impervia 250. If you're going to do it in a Western region where you need Title 24, on Impervia, you would have to add foam insulation or it would not meet Title 24. Dual color means one color in, one color out. Whenever I want it, I would actually just tap the button. Actually, I'm going to tap this one, and I want you to remember that I tapped that dual color. I'm going to show you where it's important to know we're going to use it. We're going to build one with it and one without it. I'm going to show you what options you have at the end. Then it talks about fossil inside and outside color, which means, again, it's one color in, one color out. Grills between the glass. If I take this one for, if you notice, it says Impervia and 250 series only. Let's say I want some GBGs. That's grills between the glass. This means I need to pick my pattern. Traditional is what we call a colonial grid in the industry. It's a bunch of squares. A 6-light prairie is a different type of grill. 9-light, top row, starburst, and perimeter grids, which could also be called a open prairie or a prairie grid. So you'd have to kind of take a look at that per your municipality, what's popular. Next is wide and tall. What happens, let's say I've got a grid and there's boxes. There's 3 boxes to the right and 2 boxes tall per sash, right? So if I look at that and I count the boxes, the little squares inside the sash, which goes back and forth, that would mean there would be 1, 2, 3 wide by 1, 2 tall. So I'd need to make sure that I put that in there correctly. So if it's 3 wide by 2 tall, then again, that's going to show me what I'm looking at. So once I hit done, then it's going to almost let me complete my unit. So next, do I want it factory mold? No. Simulated divided light? No. You know, painted or painted or stained interior? Not on the 250 or Impervia window. Hardware upgrade, Architect series only, so it doesn't apply, right? Hardware upgrade on Impervia Contemporary Reserve. We're going to leave it alone. In-view screen. Again, that's a different type of screen. Screen material. Check your screen materials when you go through there for further details. Viv View, which is like a high transparency screen. Or at RBA, they called it high transparency screen. I don't even know what it's called to be anymore. I think it was TrueScene. TrueScene screens, which means you can see through it a lot better. Then there's grills between the glass on Architect series. It's going to be a little bit more money. And if you notice, they ask you to put per light down here. So you walk through it again, it has your number of lights. Integral light grills, same thing. And then triple pane advanced low E. So what you got to be careful of with this, if you're going on West Coast, this jacks your solar heat gain up like crazy based on just a standard low E package in it. So again, don't be fooled just because it says triple pane. So let's say we got this one done. Next, for quick time frame, if I want to come in here, I can slide this to the right and say I want to add another window exactly like this because it's in the same room. I can hit copy. Now what you're going to see is there's a red mark around the window I just built. So if I tap this, now instead of window number 101, let's just call it kitchen again. I call this 102. Same size, we'll say, and then notes, kitchen in existing wood sill. All right, so now it's done. As you can see, all right, so now what we want to do is basically roll back through it. Sorry for the silence here for a second. Now we want to roll back through and make sure, again, we kind of look at all of our windows. So we're going to say they only want 2 windows in this job just for the sake of time, and they want a door. So the door, how you pick the door is you go to the style of door you want. There's tons of them. We have lifestyles, which you can get mini blinds in between the glass on. There is basically outer reserve, which is our Architect series. No blinds are available. reserve, outswing A and P. A stands for active, P stands for passive. So the opposite of active and passive would be passive active. This means both sashes move, or both doors move on that when nothing's fixed. Okay. Then we have reserve in swing single panel, reserve in swing active stationary, or stationary active, meaning that one side's fixed and will never move. It's like a deadlight, and the other side will move. So again, we got to make sure that we go. So the active side showing in the picture would be your far right. So that would be S on the left, A on the right, active stationary. Or see, active or stationary active. Then we have active passive above. Active passive means one door is your dominant door, which would be your active door. Your passive is the one that sets still till you need to actually use it. Reserve sliding panel, that's if you're going to add a panel to a sliding patio door. Say it's a 5-light door, and you don't want a 5-light door, you want a 4-light door, or a 3-light door, and you want a 4-light door. You can add that in there to kind of help out. Next is your reserve door, and you'll see the sizes change based on what you're trying to accomplish. And we're walking through here, we have all these. So I'm just going to roll down to a 250 series gliding door. I'm going to call that 96 by 80. All right. Now that I'm in here, I just go like this. I'm going to say kitchen again. We're going to take care of all 3 units in the kitchen. All right. So unit number, doors, we call that PD1. Because our first patio door. Operation, we're going to call it operable. Handing, we're going to call it stationary active. And then we should be done building that unit. Now let's say I'm completing it. So next thing I need to do when I come through here, remember earlier we talked about miscellaneous items. Miscellaneous items will be a set-up delivery. If I look at the installation method, if I do a Dreamstyle reflash or a new installation, then I need to charge my setup and delivery charge. If not, so again, now we want to make sure to go. So I'm not going to add that setup and delivery charge. So we're going to jump in and we are going to add our installation method. So installation method, I'm going to call this one, because I talked about it earlier, an insert. I've had an insert, ask me how many windows are inserts. So I have, 2 windows and 1 door, so it'd be a total of 3. So I do this, and I can actually tag them. So I know I did window 101. Then after window 101, then I can add number window 102. And then we're going to add PD1. Typically in our market, patio doors don't count as a window. So we're going to mark this in here just for the sake. Shows us what windows are tagged. So there's no question on what's actually being installed in what direction or what way. Next, modifications, we're going to say we have none of this. Thinning and paint, we're going to leave alone as well. So we're going to call this good to go. Now, next thing I'm going to look at is custom. If I want to add a product into custom, I'd literally in the top right-hand corner hit the plus sign. Allows me to add the name. So say it's a Provia. We can put in the description, legacy steel door. All right, quantity, we're going to say 1. Price, we'll say $92.70 because there's multiple units there. So next we're going to hit done. Now I see everything in here matches up. The only thing it's not going to match up, which I need to do before I go roll my price, is touch the finance option. Once I touch the finance option, if I said 10,250 was my finance option, that means what number I'm trying to get financed. So they're putting 1,000 down. Then what happens is service finance, let's say it was 0% for 60s. I saw you sell one of those earlier. So I'm going to hit done. All right. So what I'm going to do real quick is I'm going to, before I move on to anything, I'm going to save my estimate. I'm just going to save it as that. Normally I'd use their name or some other end to actually help save it. So now, let's say I have everything built like I want to go to a price. So where I go to next is I go to proposal. To proposal, I always start with the one on the left, which is 25%, because then I can work an angle where I'm trying to sell my price. So if I'm on here, then literally I can come on and look at whatever I want to. So let's say deposit's $1,000. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave this off at the start. Dollars off project. We're not putting any of that. All right. So next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go down to the bottom. See, it says buy one, get one 40, DreamStyle 25 or cost savings program. I can't put the 25% in the buy one, get one 40 because the computer will recognize that that's not an approved discount. So when I come in, I always want to start with 25% off, or if you have to, it'd be the 30%. That's only if they have the ad and they're badgering about it. So next thing I do is I come to this page here, which is going to, again, allow me to do my price presentation. So, John and Mary called me out for everything you talked about, not to mention we found the inspection. We owe the whole value to do your entire project at only $23,479. Can you see again with everything we have to do to correct the issues and challenges on your house, how we hold that $23,479 as a good value? Yes, no, indifferent. So again, we're not asking you to pay that, but you can see the value, right? Yes. So great. So you call us off promotional discount, which is probably the best one I've ever seen. Save you a total of 25% off. Save you a total of $5,870 off the project. Take the total investment down to only $17,609, or then pause. What more of our savvy customers do: open account at 12 months, no interest, no payment, or more popular, open account at 60 months at $349 a month. Let me ask you, how's that $349 a month fit in the budget? And then shut up. And there's a whole nother skip. We go over that, but that's allowing you to get yourself prepared. Now, one of the cool thing is, see where it says 6.99 for 5? If I take my finger and literally swipe it to the left, it'll show me my 6.99 120 and my 7.99 for 180. So again, there's my door detail that I wrote up this setting in here. So next, after I get my proposal, say they pick a price that we like. Say they're like, Dustin, hey, I want to move forward, or basically let's do it. Then I can do what we call a cost savings program on the bottom. Means we always give to get. We talked in the early about the cost savings program, and on the bottom, we want to give to get, meaning that we don't want to give that last discount till we know that we have their business and that's nothing else except for the money, right? We should pre-close, but even if you pre-close, you still want to isolate the objection and get to the root. So say I did that. Now I want to show them what their cost savings program or initial visit savings to be. On the very bottom, they talk about the cost savings program. See, there's two little buttons here. I'm going to unclick them. I'm going to click them again. That should allow you to basically add the discounts. So now instead of being at the number we were at, now with the extra additional savings, $1,760 takes the project down to now only $15,849, right? You can go through all your other pricing stuff. So again, the same discounts are going to apply based on the years that you're taking a look at it there. Next, let's say that everything's a fit and they want to buy windows. So let's say they call us out and they want to test our contracts. So if I hit contract here, a couple different things I got to do. Number one, Provia, I need the entry link number to make sure I can enter that into the system. On payment terms, that's going to show all our legal bumbo jumbo. Or excuse me, that's going to show the money part of it. Terms and conditions, that's all our legal bumbo jumbo. And then project specs, that's what they bought. Okay. So how it should kind of look like if I want to do it right, I'm going to pick project specs, payment terms, and terms and conditions. Okay. If I'm adding a Provia entry door or Provia windows, I would need to tap this. I'll show you what to do next. Secondly, after I tap my products, then I want to tap in my lead book, my measure 1, measure 2, and then basically your last one, your final payment and warranty. And I also want to attach these two, which are finance expectations and Green Sky borrower's form. My goal is trying to get away from paper. So again, this is going to allow you to supply all the documents you would need if somebody asked you any questions. Next, when I'm in here, the next thing I'm going to do is start adding the red. The red will tell me what I need to fill in before I move forward. All right. So next, let's say I got my contracts in place. On the bottom here, you'll see where it says specs, spec all, basically agreement, Provia, measure, and then basically, what is that, finance paperwork, Green Sky form, and then Green Sky 2. So let's just roll through and look at each one of them. So it's going to ask me how many windows are in the house. I'm going to say 10 here. Okay. I don't see any other red marks, but it does tell me all about my windows and what's included. So I'm going to hit next, which is going to allow me to move on down the road. So it showed me my money. Now, what kind of went crazy is we know it's not 23 grand because I looked at it before, right? So if I go back to my proposal page, I hit next, shows me the real price should be $15,849, right? So I'm going to come back over into Leapfrog here. All right, so now let's say I get stuck here. I'm trying to figure out what my price was that I gave them because I forgot to write it down. Well, I know it's $15,849, right? So let's go back at this again. So if I take my contract and and nothing entered into there, what I would do is I'd literally just double tap next to it. So when I double tap next to it, allows me to go back and then fill it. So if it's $15,849, then I hit save. Now it calculates my discount. So that's what's going to show up on my contract. If I forget that, it's going to jack everything up. Next, I put my notes in San Diego. We put, let's say it's, 60 months at 0%. Next thing is our form of payment. We're going to call this check and cash. We'll show you why in a second. Deposit, let's say they're putting $1,000 down. Amount financed, we're going to call it $14,849. Next thing we know, there's a measure payment. Measure payment would be if they're collecting a payment at the measure, okay? And we'll say that they're not, so we'll call that 0. Final payment is going to be $14,849. Now there's a different finance form that allows us to take half of that money. But again, in this part of it, I don't really need to do it because I don't want to confuse the measure tech on them picking that up. Next, there's a homeowner association. I'm going to tap here. Next, it's going to make me finish my color. So you remember when I tapped onto this, it shows me what exactly they bought, right? It says interior and exterior finish. I'm going to do, let's say, popular white. Notes, if I want to add any notes, I can add any notes there. Hi, or whatever detailed note I'd want to put in there. That's my door. Next thing is my windows. If you remember earlier, I had an interior finish, which is white. I can change that to whatever other interior finish I want to do. Let's say it's antique white. My exterior finish, let's say I want to make it brown or black on it because it's a different side of the house. And it still has my note that I entered in. So that's completed. Next, this one I just did as a exterior finish, so we're going to make this one black as well. Now I built all my windows. So if you have to go through there, and it's not going to let you move on unless you put the color and all the details in it. Then next, we're going to basically fill out the next form, which is going to be on here. So our measure form is not showing. So what I'm actually going to do is come out here and realize that my measure accuracy form, I'm going to take off. So I have my agreement specs. Now we've done this one. Our Provia, let's say I did sell a Provia, I would have to come into my Provia entry link. And what Provia entry link would do is allow me to basically get what we call an itemized number. So when I come into my Provia, if I built anything Provia, whether it's entry door or basically window, it's going to show me a detail when I touch my house of what I want. If I see this one that says Damien, for instance, on the very bottom it says upload order. If I hit upload order, it's going to tell me okay. Then you're going to see an entry link number here on top. What I'm literally going to do is I would either hold that entry link number down, I'd hold that entry link number down, I write it down. We're on this going to say 6316893. 6316893. So 6316893, and I'm going to add, and I should show up a picture of the door itself, or the window and doors themselves right here. So anything that would be added, that's where I would add it. Then I'm going to hit done. So it's going to, on Provia, it's going to force me to add a location. So I'm just going to call it kitchen. And this, just for the sake of time, I'm going to copy this and then just paste my location in each one of them. But you would write your correct location on there so your measure text would not get confused. But for this one, for the sake of time, I'm just rolling in here just to show you how to add a Provia in there. And I'm going to hit done on this one. Next is my Green Sky, which is my secondary financing form. If you go run the financing and they don't get approved, then we would have to add this form, which will allow us to make sure we're looking at our secondary app. So we said the deposit was $1,000. Next. So amount finance, I think would need to change that, but we're going to put my wife's name in here, just playing around. There we go. Something is kind of screwy here. Let me look at it. Okay. So next is basically our secondary. So there's going to be an applicant again, which is just my expectations form. So I'm just going to go through and fill out all the correct information. Obviously, I'm going to put last name if I'm looking at it. $1,000 deposit. Service finance is my first plan. My second plan option, I'm always going to put Green Sky. And this is going to ask me, the finance department will try to match your plan number. When you're done with this, you're going to hit next. And it's going to take you to the contract. And the contract, literally, you want to get familiarized with it and roll through every page. But remember all the stuff we did to get prepared for it. Your money side is right here, which is going to spell your money out, $23,479. Total savings, $7,630. Total contract amount, $15,849. Doing that 60 months is 0%. Now they're putting $1,000 down, which means they're financing $14,849, which is a payment of $247 based on the 60 months no interest payment program. Then through here is basically our rescission form. Then we have all of our product details. And then we have our windows. So we can have all of our paperwork. Now that we know we have all our paperwork, now I can hit sign. When it's signed, it's going to tell me who needs to sign it by the name that's below the signature line. So again, I'm just going to sign them all, but you'll see one of them's a customer name, one's your name, and he goes through all the forms, rescission and everything. When this is all done, just going to keep blasting it. It's going to auto imprint all the signatures on there. After that's done, then it's going to ask me to basically print, review, or send. If I hit send, it's going to ask me who to verify the email. When I entered the email earlier about the customer, that's where it's going to send. I'm not going to send this one because it'll send out to everybody. And I don't want to throw an alarm up where everyone's going to ask me if it's a real order or not. But again, that's how you literally get through it. After you're done and you've figured out and you sold it, then you got to result it. If you look on the bottom right, it says result. You're going to want to result it here because an email is basically sent out talking about everything you sold, shows your green line and everything that's calculated what you charge for any chill on a job. So the measure technician knows, your sales manager knows, you know exactly what was charged per line item out here. So you'll just go through here and fill out all the information. When you enter it, there'll be an email that comes through that again gives all that information. I hope this was helpful, guys. Sorry it's fast and to the point. If you have questions, feel free to get a hold of me. But again, hopefully good luck in everything. If you have questions, again, let me know. But this is a good, quick outline of what to expect. Thanks, guys. All right, Siri.